I'm becoming more secure, but I keep getting attracted to anxious or avoidant partners. Is this a sign that we should be doing the work together, or is it time for me to walk away? Okay. So, what do you do when you've been doing the work? You're no longer spiraling after every text message. You are honoring your needs. You do feel more grounded and more secure. And yet, you're still drawn to people who pull away or cling or seem emotionally unavailable in all the old familiar ways. It can kind of leave you wondering, am I not as healed as I thought I was? Is this a sign to lean in and grow with them together, or should I just say goodbye? So if you've ever felt like your inner healing is outpacing the connections that you're finding, in this little segment here, I want to help you stop second guessing your growth and make relationship choices from a place of discernment. Okay. So for this particular question, there are four major points I want to explore. The first is that security isn't about never getting triggered. It's about how we hold those triggers and ultimately respond. Secondly, life may be bringing you people who activate you, but it's not likely to punish you, but rather give you an opportunity to unearth and integrate something more, something deeper, because you're ready for it now, because of all the work you've been doing, right? Number three, whether to stay or go really depends on that person's willingness to grow with you. It's a 50-50 thing. Now, sometimes there is a layover before your soul tribe shows up. And that is my fourth point, is that sometimes there is a layover before your soul tribe shows up. So I want to break these things down one at a time. Now, the first thing, security is not perfection. It is compassionate integration, right? So a lot of people tend to think that being fully secure means that you'll never feel anxious, avoidant, or uncertain again. But real security is really not the absence of insecurity. It is the presence of compassion towards what is getting activated within you. It's that ability to expand around and hold whatever it is long enough to learn from it and process it in a healthy way. So if you are judging yourself for still feeling anxious or for still being drawn to someone avoidant, you want to take a pause, because that judgment in and of itself is coming up to be acknowledged and healed. Of course, it's okay to be discouraged, right? Maybe you thought focusing on healing means that I should have peaceful connections now. And it absolutely can, right? It absolutely can. But if you hear an inner critic pipe up and say things like, we should be past this by now, or I thought I'd healed enough, but look at how insecure these people are. I must be doing something wrong. We want to take a step back and recognize the nature of that critical voice, that part of you that's judging other people, because usually, right, there's another finger pointing back right at ourselves, at our own inner self. So it is that critical voice that needs love. So it's not anxious and avoidant people that you're attracting. It's people that in some way probably mirror back to you that criticism. Something in them brings it up in you. So that's what you're intended to see. Because attachment security is self-compassion in action. So if you can say to yourself, hey, I'm feeling anxious and critical of myself, that I should be somehow attracting different types of people. But you know what? It probably makes sense that I would feel that way based on what I've learned and what I know. But now, however, I know how to support myself better. And I'm going to show myself a little tenderness and patience while giving others the same grace and benefit of the doubt. Right? So it's just a little shift in energy. And staying present with that trigger instead of reacting from it, getting curious about the criticism instead of believing it. And that is a muscle that you are building over time, right? And that brings me to the second point, which is triggers are teachers, not necessarily tests, right? So our triggers can be teachers that point you in the direction of your deepest unmet needs. And if you keep meeting anxious or avoidant people, it doesn't mean that you've done something wrong. It might mean that you're being invited to notice a pattern of critical evaluation that's happening in your inner world. Okay. So if you find yourself kind of sizing people up quickly and assessing if they're safe enough or healed enough or worthy enough, that can be the mirror. It's just showing you the presence of your own inner critic, and the critic that is standing on guard over an unmet emotional need. So it's not about blame, it's about awareness, right? So now we need to ask, what is that unmet need? And how can we approach it with compassion, empathy, playfulness, and acceptance? Because we got to find a way to express that quality that you carry, even with an imperfect partner. Because that gives you permission now to find a way to integrate that, to embrace that for yourself. So you might ask, can I respond in this moment with empathy instead of judgment? Can I offer grace instead of expecting perfection? And so that is how the healing process stops being about some kind of performance or meeting some imaginary standard of security, and it starts becoming a living relationship with your own heart. And that leads me to the third point, which is that growth requires two participants, right? So the question asked, is it teamwork? Is it time for teamwork, or is it time to sail away? So that depends on one thing, right? And I say growth depends on two participants. Sometimes it's you and someone else, and sometimes it's you and you, right? So let's say we're asking, is growth possible with someone else? So are they aware of their patterns? Are they willing to be self-reflective? Are they open to co-creating a safe container for your relationship? If so, there might be space to expand together, and that might look like they have a capacity to name their tendency to shut down and actively working to stay in dialogue even when they're uncomfortable. Saying things like, I'm noticing my anxiety and I'm trying not to project it right now, instead of jumping to blaming or withdrawing. Maybe it is apologizing after a moment of defensiveness and then taking responsibility for their tone or their reactivity. Maybe it is being open to learning more about your needs and then actively asking how to support you with them, even if they don't always get it right. So this is what we talk about when we say in process, right? It's okay to be in process. It's not perfection, it's participation. But if you feel like you're constantly explaining, overfunctioning, trying to earn breadcrumbs of emotional presence, that doesn't really amount to a relationship. It's really driven by attachment anxiety and emotional survival. So you want to ask yourself, am I walking with someone, or am I dragging my hope behind me? Right? Because you do deserve a partner who participates in that process, not someone who's going to make you do it all by yourself. And the last point I want to make here is that sometimes there is a layover before your new soul tribe arrives. So what do I mean by that? It's like the space in between. Sometimes there's a little bit of a layover, meaning there is some time that has to pass, whereby the people that you were in your life, who were a result of the person you have been up until this point, right? They were responding to, let's call it an old version of you. It's not really old, it's a different version of you. And you've been working really hard to heal, which requires changing your identity on many levels. Your values, your priorities, how you think, how you respond. Those are all very important contributors to who you are and what you want, right? And that's, as you start to heal, that starts to shift, it starts to change. And so the people who were a match to who you were up until this point, many of them are not going to be a match for you anymore. Some of them will be inspired by you and may come along for the ride, and those are wonderful friends to have. But some of them are just going to fall away from your path. And so you might be feeling more secure than ever and still feel lonely. Maybe you've stopped spiraling, you've stopped chasing, you're not abandoning yourself anymore, and suddenly it just feels like things are a little quiet. Maybe dates fizzle out because you're not taking on all of the initiating anymore, right? Maybe old friends don't know how to connect to you because you connected over misery and commiseration. You just talked a lot about how miserable you were, and that's what connected you. Maybe you feel like you're doing everything right, but people aren't connecting with you in the same way. So you're like, what, did I just like heal myself out of intimacy? I would say you've healed yourself out of survival mode. You're not really confusing chaos with connection anymore. And so your nervous system just needs a little respite to become calibrated to something and to someone's that are willing to meet you on a deeper level now. I think of this as like a sacred in-between. And a lot of times unprocessed grief shows up at this time, right? Grieving the familiar chaos that you used to call chemistry, grieving the roles that you played where you knew what was expected of you, even if it hurt you, grieving the versions of you that coped by contorting yourself or controlling everything. You got to let that go. And that requires a grief process. And it doesn't mean that you're unrelatable. It just means that you're not relating to people in the same way. You've outgrown those patterns. And it's not the end of intimacy, but it is the beginning of a certain kind of resonance. People who are going to match your energy in their own way. So I think of this as kind of an initiation, right? It's kind of catalytic moment in your life. So that's the 4 points I wanted to make here, is that, once again, number one, security isn't about never getting triggered. It's about how you hold and respond to those triggers. Number two, life can bring you people that might activate you, but it's not to punish you. It's likely to help you unearth and integrate something deeper. Number three, whether to stay or to go depends on their willingness to grow with you. And number four, sometimes there is a layover before your new soul tribe shows up. And so I would recommend using that time as an opportunity to process and grieve what needs to be grieved while you step into this kind of spiritual initiation that's arrived in your life. So bringing it back to the original question, I keep attracting anxious or avoidant partners. Is this a sign to do the work together or to walk away? So I like to offer a reframe for this question. Is this connection helping me to unearth and embrace more of who I am? Or is it asking me to abandon who I am to maintain a bond from a place of anxiety and fear? If it is the second, I recommend it might be time to lovingly let it go. Okay. And remember, you're not becoming secure so someone else will love you. That's a pattern that you're trying to break. Instead, you are relaxing into the secure version of yourself that already exists inside of you so you can stay rooted in love regardless of what anyone else says or does. Because what you're really craving isn't just connection, it is that resonance, it is reciprocity, and it is a form of shared courage, really. And that is not too much to ask for. That is your new standard. And when you start living from that truth, the more your relationships are going to show up and they are going to be a match for what you're vibing at, right? So just let me know in the comments if this is resonating with you. I would love to know how this is landing. Also, remember to subscribe and ring the bell for notifications. I put out videos once a week and I wouldn't want you to miss out.